Welcome to the On Main Street podcast, where you'll meet some of the area's leading minds. These community leaders and business owners are ready to share their journeys of success, failures, and what it takes to reach your full potential.
We're your hosts, Kelly Baith
and Brady Lindquist, and in this episode we had the pleasure of sitting down with Jesse Gislason.
Jesse is one of the co-owners of the bowling alley and restaurant called Alley on Ash in New London, and Jesse's a great leader in our community.
We are excited to share his story with you. Let's get right into it. Jesse, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. So I grew up in the Wilmer area, went to high school, all my years of school through Wilmer. Decided that it was time to grow up and move out of town and move to New London. Had a kid, just went through the whole process of raising him. He's 22 and off to college now, getting graduated.
Kind of crazy how time flies, right?
Yeah, it's been unreal. So, just growing up, I spent a lot of time back and forth to and from Spicer. All my relatives were out here, so I'd just hop on my bike and do my paper route and ride bike out to Spicer. And then we'd build forts all day, work in the fields, just had a bunch of fun with my family and friends out here. And once I graduated, like I said, I moved to New London. And after that, it's just been working all like bar scene, work service industry, West Side Liquor for 10 years. So just kind of been what I've been comfortable doing, It's an interesting point that you bring up right out of the chute, just having your paper route. I mean, I think that's why Jesse's here today too. It just seems like always a go-getter, always out there trying to make a buck, looking ahead, always kind of looking for the next thing out there, I think. How old were you when you started the paper route? I was probably 12 or 13. Like I said, it was bust my paper route out and get back to building our fort, like that was our whole summer project for 3 summers. And so it was that, I think that work ethic right there, just, it was a 10, 12 mile bike ride on the side of the highway when it was a 2-lane highway to and from Spicer.
Right.
So, at 12, 13 years old, it was get after it back then. And it carries over to today. It's just, part of your work ethic. I think that's what too many people today, they just seem to get lazy. I think some people don't have that drive. Do you see that at work at all with some of your employees, or have you experienced it in the past with any kind of work ethic issues, or what's your experience been like with that? Well, for us, we have a great staff. I don't really have to worry about putting my foot in their rear or anything like that. You've got some kids you want to get a fire going with them, but once they understand what your expectations are, they're ready to put it in, or put it in gear and get it done. Otherwise, they know they're not going to be there long because the kids that didn't aren't there. Mm-hmm. Working for Steve over at West Side Liquor, he ran a great show. He kind of the same thing. He just was a great leader and showed us the way. And the productivity was always there. You didn't have to really pick up anybody else's slack. Yeah, that's huge. Leadership is huge. Who are some of your probably role models, or who really influenced you as you were growing up, whether it was either at jobs or just people in the community? Can you think of any real good leaders that you maybe modeled yourself after? Well, I worked for a gentleman named Jim Rakshani, and I think he had like 2 or 3 bachelor's degrees and a PhD, and he was the first real employer that I worked for at Pizza Zapoli in the mall. Pizza Zapoli, yes. And I worked right across the road at the old Athletic Fitters. Yeah, I kind of remember that. We both kind of had some pretty good leaders there too. I had James Amfinson. He was our manager at that store, and he was always getting after it. So for me to see him kind of in the trench, he wasn't that what do you want to call it, like top leader down, but he was down there with us. So he kind of led from bottom to top. And that's kind of my mentality. I get right in the trenches with everybody and do the work. And, I think that's a true quality of a good leader. They're going to not just stand there and point and tell you what to do. Right. But yeah, Jim was Jim was great. He taught me a lot. I really tried to just, at the time you don't really think, what am I learning? But when you reflect back, it's just like, wow, that really makes a good point now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I had the time to spend with this gentleman to learn.
Right. Where's he today? Do you even know where he's at or not?
He's in St. Cloud. I think he's got a couple of restaurants up there. I mean, he was so busy and everything else. I think this was just kind of a hobby for him. So it was really a joy for me to be able to get in and kind of ride the coattails of him and just learn.
Did you kind of manage that place? I mean, did you kind of run it?
Well, to be honest with you, like the 2 or 3 jobs that I had, I never had a quality, they never came up and said, we want you to be the manager. It was just kind of one of those things where I think I just kind of grabbed the reins and tried to lead the team so that we could all have a good time, have fun while we're working, and just make some money. Especially when I went from there and worked part-time, still worked at Pizza Zapoli, and then went and worked at O'Neill's. And it was just kind of a transitioning time for them. Staff were quitting, and I just kind of fell into the bartending role as one of my first real service jobs with bartending and whatnot. And yeah, it just all came together. And at the time, I think we hired about 4 or 5 new people. They kind of just fell under my wing, and we just rolled with it. The owner wasn't really there. He didn't really care what was going on as long as we were making money.
Mm-hmm. So along with kind of falling into that position, what kind of challenges can you remember? It can't be that easy. I mean, it's not like you went to school to learn how to manage people and to run businesses. But can you think of any challenges that really you struggled with maybe at some of those positions?
Not really. I think I've just been fortunate. I think if you lead by example, everybody else just kind of falls in line. Either they know that, it's not really a pecking order, like I'm the top dog and you're just going to, follow me. But it's just one of those things where I think if they see you doing the hard work, they're going to get in line, or they know they're not going to be around. Yeah,
that's huge. Nobody likes being told what to do.
No.
So leading by example, I think, is a great strength that you've obviously showcased at many of your different jobs or
work ethic, for sure.
Yeah, work ethic.
And one of the things that I really take as a philosophy for myself is I always ask. I try not to ever tell somebody I go do this. It's always, hey, can you help me out and get this done? You got about 5 minutes. If you could punch that out for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, take us back. What year was it when you got started with Alley on Ash?
We opened up May 25th of 2016. So that's when we took the keys over, and then June 1st was our first day of business.
Okay. Wow, the years click by, don't they?
Yeah.
It seems to go fast. Seems like it was yesterday. I know you came in and we talked a little bit about that before anything ever really happened, and not to bad talk the previous business or how it was run or what the community thought of it, but it seems like you kind of brought it to a new level for sure.
Yeah, revamped it. So kind of, I guess, talk to us about how that got started and why you think that is.
So once we decided that we were going to give this a go, honestly, when we sat down with our accountant and the banker, and they were like, wow, your guys' projections are a little bit high here. And I just looked at Mike, the banker, and I said, I'll be eating ramen noodles for the next 6 months if this doesn't even go to what we're projecting. And so I was a little bit nervous, a little bit hesitant after that conversation, but we were confident in our ability to at least be able to draw a crowd. We were fortunate. The old owner, he needed some work for about 2 weekends before we were even able to buy it. I was a little nervous about doing that because I didn't want people to know that we were looking at buying it. But we went in there for 2 weekends, just myself and Roby, and we really knocked it out of the park. It was like we just told a couple friends and they told their friends, and all of a sudden it was just packed both weekends. I think Bob came back and he was like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't sell this," But once we got through, I'll take it back even a little bit further. I was and it's kind of a happen chance thing for me, I believe. We were at a little Christmas party, having some fun, just hanging out, and Roby approached me and he says, hey, Bob from the bowling alley approached me and asked me if I wanted to buy it. And I don't think I can do it myself. Would you be interested in joining up and taking this on? And I said, let's talk about it tomorrow, and then I just sat there a little bit more and my wheels started spinning. I'm like, this could really be interesting. Let's, so we started actually talking about it right then and there. And I said, well, tomorrow let's get together and we got to get a business plan. We got to get ready to go to the bank, and I think this was a Saturday night. Sunday morning, we were grinding our gears and putting everything together. And we went and sat with an attorney to make sure that we had our ducks in a row when we went back to talk to Bob. So the following Wednesday, we went back and talked to Bob and kind of got a rough number on what he was thinking. And then we put our business plan together. It probably took from the end of December, early January until May. So really 4 or 5 months before we got the deal done, which I think is pretty quick for transitioning into a new business. We had some challenges right off the bat. We had to raise some money. Neither Roby or myself had the money that the bank wanted us to have in liquid, just kind of laying around. We went to a couple different investors and nobody thought it was a good idea. Finally, one family said, you know what, we're going to give you guys a shot. We're going to help you out. And we were fortunate. We were able to, I think we had an 8-year deal with them and we paid them off within the first year. It was just fantastic. Wow. Just to lighten that up and you don't have that extra burden over your shoulders. But then, once we opened the doors, it was just, it was just, the community support has been phenomenal. And I think everybody kind of wanted it back. The consistency that we brought to the table. We decided that we were going to have all of our burgers hand patted, fresh every day. We do homemade pizza. So that and just maintaining the lanes was, I think, all the people really wanted, as some place to come and enjoy their families and have some fun with their friends.
That's an awesome story. A couple things really stick out to me. You talked about sitting with the banker and just kind of, you had to have that confidence and said, we'll get it done. And then to follow up with a good work plan, your work ethic. I think a lot of things kind of get gelled together to get you where you're at today. And then one of my favorite things is probably the recognition from WCCO was pretty cool. I know the community had a lot of excitement and enthusiasm around that. Share a little bit about that experience when WCCO awarded you guys.
Yeah, that was great. And once again, that goes back to the community support. We're a small little town. Between the two, there's 2,000 people. And we beat out some big 32-lane centers up in the cities and whatnot. They got 50,000 people to draw from. So it was quite awesome. I was at a meeting earlier in the day. We were actually closed that Tuesday, and I just stopped in to check out some voicemails and handle a couple emails, and the phone rang and I was like, oh, this doesn't look like a familiar number. And on the other end was the gal from WCCO. She told me we had won and that they wanted to come out Wednesday morning, the following day, and record their little show for Thursday night. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should try to fill the building and make it look like, this is the place to be. She kind of told me not to let the word out, but on the other side of it, it was like, well, I want to make sure we have people here.
Yeah, have the place packed, right?
Right. Let people know, like, it's not just this little bowling alley with nobody in it. So no, we ended up having a full house, and it was a great half a day that they had spent with us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that was pretty early on when you started, right?
Yeah, actually it was about 9 months into it,
That's awesome.
It really raised the bar for us. We were already quite busy. Now all of a sudden we had people coming from all over the Twin Cities, up north. They just, I really respect what WCCO does with, they help out a lot of small businesses, because I really think that the people that watch it, they do support it, you know. And once I started seeing new faces, I was always like, where are you guys from, you know? And it was quite interesting, you know, and I always just told them, we're still in our infancy. We're like walking, holding onto the couch right now, you know. We're just getting past that crawling stage, and now the bar is up here, and it was unbelievable, actually.
I mean, just having the community supporting and backing you so quickly, otherwise that wouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah, I would venture to say that would be.
It's a great community. It's a small, pretty close-knit community. I think anybody that's listening, you know, whether you have an established business or you're just trying to get started, I think hearing some of the things that Jesse's been through and the things you're sharing is just awesome. I hope people are taking a lot of these things away. So you kind of serve the community that way. Great place to hang out. Great place to work. So you're employing some people in the community. But what else do you do in the community to serve?
Well, I got elected on the City Council of Spicer the same year we took over business. So it's kind of a crazy story. I had made a commitment to myself early in 2015 that I was going to run for City Council. Roby and I sat down the end of 2015, and he said, you know, hey, let's do this. And so I was kind of at a crossroads with myself going, I know this is going to take a lot of commitment and a lot of my time and energy with the business to, you know, but I was torn because I've like already made a commitment to myself. I didn't want to pull back on that and say, well, if nope, I'm going to not do that. I'll hold off until, you know, the time comes and I'll do it again. But, so I just threw my name in the hat for City Council, got voted in, and, so now being on the City Council, you know, you get thrown into different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different,
I suppose different community activities and.
Well, and then you on different chairs, different boards and stuff like that. So like I'm on the fire board and the police board. So you get extra meetings throughout the year, which usually it's about one a year. So it, you know, it's interesting, the insight and the other things that you learn from throwing yourself out there. And that was my biggest thing is I don't know a whole lot about this, but I'm going to throw myself out there and I'm going to learn.
So you're doing City Council, you're running your own business. What does Jesse do for fun?
Well, I like.
Do you have any time? You have any extra time?
Oh yeah. You know, one of my friends, actually, you, Kelly, had mentioned numerous times to me, the early bird gets the worm, you know, so, and I know my response was always, well, the second mouse gets the cheese. But at the end of the day, you know, it's you have to put in the work. If you want to feed yourself, because the bird's feeding itself and the mouse is feeding itself, at the end of the day, if you want to feed yourself, you have to put in the work. Well, once I decided that I was, you know, once we had purchased the business, I knew that I had to get myself in good physical shape. I was going to have long 12, 15-hour days. So I just decided that it was time to start doing more exercise than I was doing. You know, maybe back in the day I would hit my bike a little bit, hit a 10-mile ride. Yeah. You know, so then it's just one of those things where I joined the CrossFit gym, and it's their mentality there is a whole lot different. You know, one thing I hear a lot is embrace the suck. So when you hear that and you know you're having a sucky time, but you got to get through it. And, you know, that really helped me grow, just being part of that as well on the business side of it too, because there's some days that you just have to embrace it, fight through it, and move on, you know? So that really keeps me motivated. Plus you feel good when you get up and you move your body. Sometimes it's 7 minutes a day. I spend an hour there, but I really work my tail off for 7 minutes. Sometimes it's 40 minutes, but that's a lot of fun. I made a goal early last spring that I was going to do a 100-mile bike ride called the Grand Fondue. So I spent all winter just trying to put on some miles on my bike, so I was prepared in the spring, because I tell you what, 100 miles on your bike is a long way.
Long ways.
So yeah, between working out at the gym and, the bike ride thing, I really enjoy time on my bike because, it's just a stress reliever. You can jump on, throw a little bit, throw some light tunes on and just roll, pedal, and just let your mind kind of cleanse itself.
Right. Go whatever direction you want to. I like that. I was going to kind of jump in there too. Give us like what's your typical day? Like when you wake up, what do you do? What's your morning routine like?
Well, usually it depends on what my night finished out with.
Sure.
If I'm at the alley until 2 a.m, I usually wake up about 8, check out some quick emails while I have breakfast. And then I just jump in the car and go to the gym. Once I get out of the gym, usually about an hour and a half, I'll get back home, have another little breakfast. I've been reading John Taffer. It's a bar management type book. That's what I've been reading the last few mornings. So I'll do that, and then it's pretty much straight off to work. And then just depends on if I've got a meeting that day, I'll try to get prepared for that. So yeah, if I don't have time to ride bike that day, usually I'll just ride bike to work, or just try to get that in there too. So
it's kind of interesting. You got Wilmer that closed, so there is no bowling alley in Wilmer, right?
Yep, no bowling in Wilmer.
So what is the state of bowling right now?
For us, it's wide open. If you don't call ahead and make a reservation, odds are, especially on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to sit around and wait, and I often don't tell people that, I want them to come in, see it's busy, and then, hey, grab a table and hang out. We'll put you on the list. And, but people really figured that out in a hurry. So we do get a lot of calls and reservations. We have leagues Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We did pick up a league with Wilmer closing. We've got some handicapped individuals that come out every Saturday morning and bowl for about 2.5 hours. And then on Sunday night, we have another mixed couples league. So there's a lot of leagues out there. We do have a little bit of room on 2 of the women's leagues, and then we have a late shift league that we've got some room on. Probably even time to jump on if somebody did want to slap a team together and come out and have some fun.
Sure.
But yeah, for the most part, I think, honestly, we have Billy Johnson. She doesn't work for us, but she's taken on the youth league, which is in its 3rd year now. She does, it's called 10-pin bowling. So some of these kids, they travel to state, they bowl in different tournaments around the area. And, we've got a couple kids that bowl out of our facility that are almost $4,000 in scholarships in their 9th, 10th grade.
Wow, cool. Wow.
Yeah. So they'll get to take that money to school and buy books and use it for housing. It doesn't pay for their schooling, but that stuff all helps.
Oh, it all adds up. Yeah, for sure.
And they're all having fun, so she works with the kids on Mondays, and there's anywhere between 25 and 30 kids there every Monday that bowl on a league, the youth league. So
that's cool.
We feel like our foundation is set. There's, we're always encouraging kids when we see them with their parents, hey, you should check out the youth league. Yeah. And that's, for us, it's huge when we see families together, just hanging out.
Well, we were just going to ask you, okay, so that kind of tells us about the state of bowling. We're going to ask, what do you do to keep things fresh around there? But I think you kind of hit it right there. You've got all kinds of leagues. Birthday parties, half the time we stop in there after work or whatever, there's birthday parties. My kids have been up there to birthday parties. Anything new and fresh that might be on the horizon that you're thinking about doing? I suppose you don't want to spill the beans if you have any fantastic ideas, but anything along those lines that you want to share?
Well, there's some different lighting programs and different bowling programs that you can do. So we've looked into some of that. We want to, I kind of call it the dinosaur lighting with what we have right now. And there's some new LED stuff out there that's really cool.
Cool.
So we're looking into that to kind of freshen it up. I think I think just how cool that stuff is would really open up the ball game for so much more. I think people would just be like, hey, this is the spot to be. They're up, they're up with what's going on. They get it.
Right.
So, between that, and we've got a lot of room in our building. There's some ideas kicking around about doing some stuff downstairs. We've got to kind of stick with the game theme. We'd look at doing possibly some some pool, darts, foosball, just more game stuff.
That's what I love about Jesse. He's always thinking ahead. Always, from day one. He's always thinking of ideas that might push something to the next level. So with all of these good experiences, I'm sure you had some that weren't so good. What advice do you have to some of the listeners out there that, they might be sitting in their chair just thinking, I don't know if I can do it. Whatever they're thinking about doing it, what kind of advice would you give to anybody that's on the edge of their seat, thinking about making a big business move?
That's a great question. I probably ran that question through my head 100 times before I finally said, you know what, I've got everything to lose, but I've got nothing to lose.
I like that.
What's going to hold you back? Your fear is the biggest thing that's going to hold you back. Go get it.
Yeah.
Go work for it.
Yeah.
If it's something you think you can attain it. If you don't think you can, you're not going to. So that's always been my philosophy. I'll be honest. We talked about the bike ride. I was 90 miles into it, and my legs hurt so bad. I was cramping up, and I was like, man, I just need to pull over. I need to call for a ride. I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole right there, the little devil on the left and the angel on the right, they were going back and forth. And it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, it's 10 miles.
Yeah.
Grin and bear it. This is a bike ride to work and back. Like, you can do this. It's going to take another 30 minutes. It's fine. Just go. And finally, I got to the end.
I bet the farm you made it, man.
Yeah,
I knew you'd make it.
Yeah. No, it was so, if it's something that, you want to get out there and visit with people, get out with some people that really know.
Great advice. Yes.
Yeah. Like, you're not on your own. There's a ton of people out there that will be behind you and support you and help you achieve your goals and your dreams.
And those people, they want to do that. They want to help. So people just have to ask for help. And this community is just full of great leaders. We appreciate you taking time out, Jesse, to come in here. We knew you'd be a great person for our first episode. Just a great community person, great person in general, great leader. After our conversation here today, is there anything else that you want to say, that you want to cast out to anybody, or anything that you didn't mention that you kind of want to?
When you touched on like what somebody could do if they were being hesitant, that's the one thing that drives me, because like you said, I want to see people be successful.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it a personal goal. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I want to grab somebody by the wings and just be like, here, let me throw you off the building. I'm going to help you learn to fly, and you're going to do this, and you're going to have some fun doing it. So, back to reiterate off of that, I just think it's one of those things. If it's one of your dreams, go follow it, go get it.
That's awesome. Love that advice. Well, we thank you for your time. Appreciate you being our first guest on our podcast that we're going to kick off here. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Jesse. And so if you enjoyed this episode with Jesse, share it with your family and friends. And like always, give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, I really wanted to thank you guys for having me here. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
That's awesome.
I look forward to being back.
Absolutely. Sounds good.